Alaska seasonal worker rights for seafood and hospitality in 2026. This guide is for processors, line cooks, housekeepers, servers, hotel front desk staff, cleaners, and H-2B workers coming for a peak season. The key idea is simple: a short season does not mean short rights. According to the official website of the Alaska Department of Labor and Workforce Development, labor.alaska.gov, Alaska enforces wage claims, minimum wage, overtime, child labor, and related protections. And on the official website of the U.S. Department of Labor, DOL.gov, the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, the FLSA, still sets the federal floor. In the next few minutes, we will focus on the rules that matter most on the dock, in the plant, and inside hotels and restaurants. Pay, hours, sick leave, H-2B protections, safety, injury reporting, and anti-retaliation. Why focus on seafood and hospitality together? Because in Alaska these sectors depend on seasonal surges, shared housing, fast hiring, and long daily schedules. That creates risk: missed hours, illegal deductions, unsafe line speed, guest harassment, and fear of speaking up before the season ends. So here is the plan. First, the Alaska pay floor. Second, hospitality rules on tips and final pay. Third, Alaska paid sick leave. Fourth, H-2B wage and travel protections. Fifth, safety rights under OSHA. Sixth, what to do after an injury, or if you face discrimination, harassment, or retaliation. When a rule depends on an exception, do not accept vague answers. Ask the employer to name the exact law, the exact section, and the reason they think it applies to your job. According to the official wage and hour page at labor.alaska.gov, Alaska's minimum wage rises to $14 per hour on July 1, 2026. The official Alaska page titled Minimum Wage Standard and Overtime Hours explains that Alaska Statutes 23.10.050 through 23.10.150 set minimum wage and overtime standards. That page also states a core Alaska rule that workers should know by memory. Overtime is generally owed after more than 8 hours in a day, or more than 40 hours in a workweek, at 1.5 times the regular rate of pay. The same page says employers must keep payroll records for at least 3 years. This matters in seafood plants and hotels because short seasons often mean compressed schedules. Track your start time, end time, meal periods, and the site where you worked. If your employer says your position is exempt, ask for the specific exemption in writing. Hospitality workers have 2 Alaska-specific points to watch closely. First, tips. On the Alaska Department of Labor page Know Your Rights, at labor.alaska.gov, the state says tips may not be used to satisfy the minimum hourly wage, and tips belong to the employee and may not be taken by the employer. In plain English, Alaska does not let an employer use a tip credit to push your base wage below the state minimum. Second, final pay. The Alaska Wage and Hour FAQ says if you are terminated, all money owed must be paid within 3 working days after the day of termination. If you quit, you must be paid by the next regular payday, that is at least 3 working days after your last day worked. That deadline matters at the end of a hotel or restaurant season, when workers leave quickly. Paid sick leave is now part of the Alaska baseline. On the official Alaska page Minimum Wage and Paid Sick Leave Frequently Asked Questions, the state says Alaska's Paid Sick Leave Law, Alaska Statutes 23.10.066 through 23.10.069, took effect July 1, 2025. The state says all employers in Alaska are required to provide paid sick leave to all employees, except certain workers exempted by statute. The normal accrual floor is 1 hour of sick leave for every 30 hours worked. Employers with fewer than 15 employees must allow up to 40 hours a year. Employers with 15 or more employees must allow up to 56. The same FAQ says employers may not deny sick leave or require workers to find someone to cover the shift, and retaliation is prohibited. For seasonal workers, that is important. A short contract does not erase sick leave rights if you are covered. If you came for seasonal work on an H-2B visa, or if you are a U.S. worker doing the same job, listen closely. According to Fact Sheet 78, Fact Sheet 78C, and Fact Sheet 78D on the official U.S. Department of Labor website, dol.gov, the wage in the job order must be at least the highest of the prevailing wage, or the applicable federal, state, or local minimum wage. The U.S. Department of Labor also says the wage must be paid free and clear, without unauthorized deductions or kickbacks. Employers must disclose non-required deductions in the job order, and undisclosed deductions are prohibited. Fact Sheet 78D also says required tools, supplies, and equipment must be provided without charge or deposit, and employers and recruiters may not collect certification costs from workers. Fact Sheet 78 says visa and border crossing costs must be advanced, paid directly, or reimbursed in the first workweek, and inbound travel and subsistence must be advanced, paid directly, or reimbursed no later than the point when the worker completes 50% of the job order. Pay is only half the story. On the official OSHA worker rights page, osha.gov, federal law says you have the right to work in a safe place. OSHA says your employer must keep the workplace free from known safety and health hazards, provide training in a language you understand, provide required safety equipment, let you report injuries, and let you request an OSHA inspection. For seafood workers, that means cold exposure, wet floors, knives, conveyors, sanitation chemicals, and repetitive motion are not just part of the season. They are safety issues. For hospitality workers, think about chemical exposure from cleaning products, slips, hot surfaces, lifting mattresses or linen bags, and working alone in guest areas. The Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970 protects your right to speak up, and OSHA states that retaliation for using those rights is illegal. If you are hurt on the job, Alaska workers' compensation may apply even if the season is almost over. On the official Alaska Division of Workers' Compensation website, labor.alaska.gov, the state explains that workers' compensation requires an employer to pay an injured employee's work-related medical and disability benefits. That is separate from your wage claim rights. If you face discrimination or harassment, Alaska also has state protections. The Alaska State Commission for Human Rights says the Alaska Human Rights Law makes it illegal to discriminate in employment because of race, religion, color, national origin, sex, physical or mental disability, and in some situations age, marital status, pregnancy, and parenthood. The Commission also says retaliation is illegal, and complaints generally must be started within 300 days. For hospitality workers, remember that harassment by customers or guests can still create employer responsibility once the employer knows and fails to act. The EOC explains on eoc.gov that workers are protected from harassment and from retaliation for reporting it. If something feels wrong, act early and document everything. Save the job order schedule, time photos, pay stubs, tip records, housing deductions, travel receipts, recruiter messages, and photos of unsafe conditions. Write down names, dates, and witnesses. For wage, sick leave, or final paycheck issues, contact Alaska Wage and Hour at labor.alaska.gov, or the U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division at dol.gov. For unsafe conditions, contact OSHA at osha.gov. For discrimination or retaliation, contact the Alaska State Commission for Human Rights at humanrights.alaska.gov, and if needed the EOC at eoc.gov. A short season moves fast, so waiting can cost you pay, evidence, or filing time. Seasonal work in Alaska can be intense, but the law still follows you from the first shift to the last paycheck.